how to make yourself do things. How can musicians or anybody else get themselves to do more work on their own things, right? I'm going to tell you. So, a long time ago in a channel far, far away, which is my other channel, where it was the genre of metal and video game music fused together, I knew the steps I had to take for each one of my projects. And eventually, to keep myself sane, I started writing them down using that sticky notes app on Windows, which was enough, unless I had multiple projects going on at the same time, in which case I would close one and then I would open sticky, but then I would only see another one, or I had to find it again. That's if I had multiple projects going on at the same time, which I highly advise against. And that doesn't seem that big of a bump in the road, but it was still a bump. And now, fast forward to classical music, I use what's called a Kanban board. And if you don't know, it's like, it can be any format. I use Notion, but pretend it's like a huge poster. You had a bunch of sticky notes, and each one of them is a task. And you have like a unsorted column, and then like a next column, and then a done, and then due on this date, all that kind of stuff. And you move things over as you go along, or you just trash it or delete it completely. And, like I said, the columns could have completion dates. So this is better using it for my classical guitar channel. But what if the internet went down? Now you could say I could just use physical. But then again, it's like I have to get Notion. I have to be like, where's the project again? I have had a tendency to get off track. And especially when it came to the day-to-day stuff, right? Like, I know I could say, arrange this song, but who knows how many steps that could take, right? Now, you would think that if we make a to-do list, we want to finish it, right? And, I'm going to go outside the scope of work, like jobs or school. What about our own stuff, right? What about the things that we want to do, but there's no external pressure? So, to solve that, enter a fellow by the name of Chris DeLeon, and what he has is called this like tiny whiteboard method. I actually have one right here. There you go. Obviously, it's blank. I'm not using it right now. But who is this guy, Chris DeLeon? So, I stumbled upon him. I forget how I discovered him, but he was a game developer. Right? He's done a lot of work. He was a game developer early in the kind of Apple games days, and then he turned into a game development coach. Now he's kind of a productivity coach, and I've been keeping up with him it's been like 10 years now. And over the last few years, he came out with 2 products. One is the audiobook called Self-Command. The other one's a Udemy course called Complete Every Project. And I can't recommend those enough. I'm going to link those somewhere. So, I'm going to do my best to summarize it, but do yourself a favor and get that book. I'm not going to look, I don't know how much it is, but it's pretty good. I'm going to do my best to summarize it all. And, with books, don't just go for the summary. Like, get the nuances and the details out of a book. So, moving on. Why do we, when it's our own work, why do we slack off on it, right? What's the difference between like doing something for school or work versus something for our own time? So here's some reasons. One, if it's not our own thing, it's usually assigned work. So typically, if you're in a situation, you probably do what you're told, right? With work. Same thing with school. Why? There's a lot to that, but we place importance on things that are assigned to us. So if we want to do more of what we want to do, we have to assign ourselves things, right? Which is incredibly hard because there's no external pressure to do any of this stuff, right? Like, why am I sitting here making this video? I have reasons, but I like doing it, but nothing would happen if I don't, right? And this is doubly hard when you're getting started because you're probably not good and you just have to get over that hump, and usually you just need to take little steps, but we'll get there. Second reason is deadlines, right? At work or school, you have tests, you have quizzes, you have a semester to get all the work in. When it's our own thing, it could be an infinite deadline if there is a deadline at all. And then it's like, are you perfectionists? And your work's probably not going to get done. Like I said, work and school, they have deadlines, but for personal work, I'm going to give some wiggle room here, because I'm not, if you have a lot of free time, go ahead and set a deadline for yourself. A workaround is, I will tell you later, but life happens. You'll be able to push them back on your own, but set it if you can, and then let that kind of quote unquote external pressure build up and make you want to finish it. Another problem, I think we really need to simplify things, because I wrote here digital quote unquote productivity apps. I love the productivity niche. Actually, those videos are very well edited, but if you tell me I have to figure out a new app and download it, whether it's on my computer or desktop, I know that learning is good for you, but if you can make it simpler, why not? It may not be the neatest thing, but I always have pieces of paper here, because I can't turn my computer off and hide from it. It's always there and I can't forget it. So, not even the productivity apps like To-Do and all that, the app you need for the work you need to do, you don't see it until you turn your computer on and remember where you left off. Like musicians, you got to open your DAW, maybe you're video editing. What was I doing there? Like audio editing, maybe it's art or something like that. It just has the digital world, as soon as you turn the thing off, has a tendency to hide. Okay. And the last thing is just the overwhelm of what is involved in everything. If you have a big project, the longer your to-do list, the more your brain will see that, and it's not going to like that, right? If I said go run 100 miles, you probably run 100 miles in your lifetime. If I said go run 100 miles now, you're probably going to be like, no, thank you. But if I said, walk how many ever feet, or 1 mile a day, that's just 100 days. You just take one step at a time. So you can list out all your steps along the way, which is good, but the overwhelm has a chance to creep in. And, even if your list is perfect, we have a tendency to just kind of putz around, do the work that you don't really need to do. Like music as an example, what are you practicing a song you already know? Are you just kind of looking at your arrangement? Are you checking your analytics, altering your banner? Or are you moving the needle forward? You probably don't even need that much time. Like if you said, all right, 10 minutes, let me actually focus. That's good. So why? So we just wrote why don't we do our own work? Now, why do we do other work? And what can we learn from the mistakes of the previous list? So like I said, we prioritize what we're assigned, and we need to assign ourselves stuff. So you have to have kind of two brains. Your current you, who's making the plan, that's your boss. And then you have the future you that has to listen to the past you. Future you is the employee. There has to be trust there. It has to be okay, I trust right now, this is the plan. And then the employee's okay, I have to trust my past self that the plan is good enough. I'm going to do my best. Even if it doesn't work out, you go back to the thinking brain, not the task brain. You say, okay, well, that maybe didn't work out. Let's adjust. Okay. You're the boss, you're the planner, you're the worker, you trust the boss, right? Then it has to be whatever we use to make ourselves do the things. It would be highly beneficial to be a physical component, right? Like I said, good old fashioned pen and paper. And as long as you can keep it where you can physically see it, you can't hide them. And it makes it easier to remember. I always think about habit trackers, right? you have a habit tracker app in your phone. If you forget it, since it's a new app, if you forget it, you're going to not do it, maybe. But then if you were to put it on a wall, maybe where like your friends and family see it and they can remind you and you can remind yourself, it's your higher chance of doing the habit. And then, so, I'm not against digital to-do list or whatever, but when it comes time to do the next thing, it is just time to do that one thing. I'm going to get my marker here so I can get ready. All right. And then the last thing is the step has to be the smallest step ever, right? You put the blinders on and just say, okay, what do I have to do next? It just makes life easier. So, as an example, if you want to start a YouTube channel, I don't know if you even have one right now. And I talk to musicians, but what if it was another genre, right? Or a niche, not niche. But like, if someone was starting out, they would think about everything that goes into making a YouTube channel. They would think of like Mr. Beast, and they'd probably jump to like release dates and video editing and all this stuff, right? You have to like pick the name, the niche, the title, the logo, the banner, the video editing software. I don't know. And then you have to figure out, okay, well, I know the topic. What kind of videos do I make? Slow it down, right? What would you make it about first? That's one step. And then what do you want to name it? That's the next step. Then you have to make your YouTube account with your Google account, right? Just one step at a time. All right. So let's solve this with the one step at a time method. I'm going to take ideas from Chris's, actually both works. This may seem silly, but give it a chance. I'm going to call it the tiny whiteboard method. None of this is revolutionary, but I just want you to be open-minded here. So the first step, let's condense this down and say you're going to have a project, right? Musical project. You're going to brain vomit everything you can think of, every step you can think of that gets you there. Okay. It doesn't have to be in order. It doesn't have to be everything now. Okay. Just make the list and you can upgrade it later. You can delete stuff later, and that's fine because you'll be able to think about it more later now that once it's actually out. All right, this isn't execution time, it's brainstorm time. So I use Notion for this. I might show everybody later, but you could also use Trello. You could use paper. You could use a poster board and sticky notes for all I care. The format is what's important, okay? And if you had a poster wall in your room, that'd actually be pretty cool. All right, so the Kanban format is what we're going for. All right, so 1 is brain vomit. 2, set a deadline if you have the time, okay? I don't use deadline. I mean, I don't know if I'd be able to like push my release schedule better if I had deadlines, but I don't use them because I got other stuff going on in life, okay? Like I said, I do this at night. If I know it would take me until like 10:30 working on something, I'm not going to do that because I know I need to go to bed because I like to wake up and work out in the morning. I'm actually wearing the same shirt I did last time. It's a workout shirt, whatever. So I just call that a loose deadline, and I'll explain that in a bit. So if you do a deadline, make sure it's something reasonable, right? Nothing too crazy. Don't depending on the project, don't delay it to a quarter or every year. Like sooner, a couple weeks, maybe once a month, right? I always say like think of what you want to do with this for the rest of your life. And then projects are little stepping stones from there. So big with a big vision and then small with the projects. So what's a loose deadline? I make sure, like I have my list, but I just say, okay, I'm going to work on something from this list, do my best every day. I removed the columns being like due dates for every day because like what if I get sick? What if the kids get sick? What if I go on vacation? I'm not going to beat myself up and like try to like bring my guitar with me to practice. Come on. I'm not a hermit completely. However, this also means when I am able to, I can't noodle around. And that also makes it that where every day has something to do, right? Even if it's like 10 minutes on something, you can do it for 10 minutes, right? 2 minutes? James Clear, hello. Let's see. Now for me, I feel like I arrange pretty fast, but the longest part for me is the practicing, because I can arrange it, but then it's like, can I play it? I arrange it knowing I can figure it out, but then performing is another. When the recording is happening, you kind of your brain kind of leaves the room. You're like, what happened? I just had this perfectly down. But anyways, once I have the song down, and I'm just like, okay, it feels good, and I can do it enough runs decently, I'm just like, all right, now I just need to hit record and go for it. So I can't guarantee the exact day, but I know I'm working on it consistently. So pick a path, either strict deadlines if you're like single college student with tons of free time, or if you're very busy, just loose deadline. Just either way, you're going to have to work every day. So let's see. We got the brain vomit. We got the deadline. Now you need to put things in order. Okay. So list and deadline, put them in order. Things may change in the future. That's okay. You'll learn as each project goes along, because depending on your musician, the steps are probably the same at some point. And then as a bonus, if you use Notion, not sponsoring this video, if you use Notion, what I like to do is save the project the Kanban board as a project template, and then you just repeat it, but all that's changing is the next song. All right. After that, now what you could do if you want to simplify this is make a smaller list, like put it on paper, right? It's just a big piece of paper, fold it up. Because if your list is like 40 things long, what 1, 2, 3, 4 maybe things can you do today for the big project? And now, the main piece of the puzzle, is this whiteboard time. What is this for? Here's the meat and potatoes. So you're going to take one thing from your list, and you're going to write something like, I've written about this before, but you're going to write something in the personal past tense, right? You better hope that you have space on the whiteboard. Personal past tense, like this. I wrote this sentence. Like, let's say you need to pick a song for your next video. You say, I picked a song. And these things need to be something you can do fairly quickly, like within 20, 30 minutes. And once you get done, you erase it. This also acts as an eraser, this pen. Or you have an eraser. Why? What in the world are you talking about? Bear with me. All right. Why are we doing this? First of all, it is one step, okay? Everything we've taken, we've gone from big list, maybe shorter list, and now we have the next step. The fewer options, the faster or the more narrow your focus can be, right? And then you can, that's number 1. 2, you stay on track. Like if you have a tendency, the internet is wonderful, but it is so easy, especially when you're working on your. Okay, the internet's wonderful, but it's just a huge interruption machine. When you get distracted, you have this thing just sitting on your desk to remind you, right? Not the 3 to 50 things that you need to do, or the infinite amount of things on the internet that you could do. And then number 3, it's physical. Like I've tried to do this before on like, what is it called? Just like Notepad on the computer. It's just not the same, because once you toggle out of it, or you, what do you call it? Close it, delete it, you can't see it anymore. And then you may forget what you're doing. Like you may open Reddit, and that is sitting behind your Reddit window, which is ironic. Yeah, so when it's physical, it's hard to ignore. Like if you had cookies on the jar, you'd probably eat them, right? If they weren't in your house, you probably wouldn't think about it. Now that's a bad example, but the good example is you want your next thing to be sitting right in front of you. And then the last thing which is very interesting concept here, but it is currently a lie, right? I wrote this sentence, and I guess it happened, but I should have written, it's kind of like training wheels, but I should have written I made this video or something, right? If I were to write that and I kind of messed around for 10, 20 minutes and I wasn't doing it, it is sitting there reminding me. And I also wrote it in the past, but I haven't done it yet. So subconsciously, you're thinking like, well, I haven't done that thing. And then what are you going to do? Erase it? If you haven't done it, and you are, kind of makes it real bad then. Subconsciously, you don't want to be a liar, right? Especially to yourself. So when you do this, you kind of want to make this temporary lie true, okay? Try it out. And then the last step, of course, is just repeat this as many times as you want. You just repeat it over and over until you do your work for the day. All right. I'm not a big fan of burning the candle and pushing it as hard as you can. Like I said, you just need a handful of tasks each day. And please also use this for other areas. Say you're going to take a break. Say you're going to go make coffee. Say you're going to read fiction for 30 minutes. Say you're going to go play video games to replenish yourself, okay? This isn't just for punishing yourself or work time. It's also for everything else time. That is it. I hope I did the best to explain that. The audiobook is amazing. Please get that. The course he has on this, it really, same thing, like all the nuances and what he explains, it really puts into perspective what could happen when you're doing projects for yourself. I think a lot of people, they kind of get lost. It's kind of deep, but they have either no creative outlet, which I think more people need to have. But then when you do, it's like the task itself isn't enough. You have to be your own project manager, right? If there's no pressure to do the next steps, you're probably not going to get done. So let me wrap this up. Here's a harsh truth. You need to give it a chance. If you made it this far in this video, or if you're reading, I guess them in a video, if you made it this far, there's a chance that whatever you have been trying has not been working, right? You made it 20-some minutes into this. So if that's the case, why not try it? And I'll give links to this, a whiteboard. I don't know how much this is. It's like $6 or something. Come on. It is so small that I actually have a trapper keeper. I don't know if that's what you call it, but it's so small you could like fit it on your desk, tuck it away, put it in a drawer. And it just, you really have no excuse. I'm not asking you to get a poster wall, like a whiteboard on the wall. I'm just asking for something small. So why do we need this? The world has changed, right? So if we were to just ignore social media, there's too much information out there. And too much is relative. It's great that we have it, but it just leads to overwhelm. Anyone that's trying to search, that stumbles upon, I'm going to use guitar, the top 5 ways to learn guitar, will just as quickly find top 5 things you're doing wrong on guitar. I talk about second guessing yourself. And we just need to guard our brains and our attention so we can concentrate on what we want to do, right? Honestly, sometimes you just need to shut the internet off and go to work. I believe, the whole Renaissance man term, Renaissance person, I think they did more because they just had more time to think and work. And they probably doubted themselves less. Maybe they had a mentor, right? Or just fewer inputs. Or fewer people to compare themselves to. And, like with Reddit, everyone's on Reddit asking questions, which is nice. But what if those people had no internet, right? And they were forced to just try stuff out, or maybe like get 1 or 2 good books and then just try. Because what makes people unique is that the path you take to like I kind of gave you a system, but the path you take to reach a result is it's up to you. Like, you can follow things one-on-one, but sometimes you may need to adjust things, and that's okay. And if it works for you, then try it, but you're never going to know unless you try. Okay, so that's it. Thanks for watching. Check out my main channel for my music. I have a newsletter version of these videos here. And thanks for watching. See you in the next one. Bye-bye. And stop recording.